Hi everybody, it's Heather with Ohio Bento. Apologize for not posting very many videos in the last month. It's been quite a busy month at my work and home. But for today's video, what I'd like to do is show you guys the evolution of my wellness tracking and my bullet journals from when I started my bullet journal in February all the way up until now in September. It's changed quite a bit over time. I do have a video explaining this original wellness tracking system, which has the radar chart. So if you'd like to see that video and get a little more information on how this is made, I'll go ahead and link it up here in the cards. But today we're just going to go over the basic changes in the format and how I've improved it over time. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to track my happiness, calmness, fulfillment, physical health, and energy. And each of these things on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being absolutely amazing and 1 being completely horrible. To make it visually appealing in the beginning, I would draw out these radar charts. And this required a lot of work because I would stamp the circle with the dot in the center, draw the lines, measure out where my numbers would be, dot in the inside. I loved the look of it, but it just took so long to create that it wasn't too functional. Now, and this was all I was doing. It was just in the daily. Now in March, I continued with the same chart in my daily spreads. If you would like to see here. So I continue with the same wellness chart, but I went ahead and added a wellness page to my monthly dashboard. This made a really big difference for me. This was the big kicker, so that I could go back and look at what my overall score was during the course of the month. So I have the days of the week, the days of the month, and then a score. And after I would create my wellness chart for the day, say on March 16th, I had a 29 for my score, I'd come down here and mark it off as being a 29 and shade it in. It was visual, it was pretty, I could see if there were big dips, see if there were big spikes, and correlate those things with life events. So this was the beginning of being able to actually use the data. Because in February, all I was doing was recording it. Now I could start actually looking at it and seeing how I was progressing. It worked functionally a little, but still took a long time. Making all of the hash marks took me a long time. It always ends up kind of looking messy to me. I wanted something a little simpler. So for April, I simplified a good bit and went to just a basic dot system. And I like this much better. I still use dots. I absolutely love polka dots. You can see I started using polka dots for everything. My habit tracking, my wellness, everything. I absolutely adore dots. So I would put my score with the big dot and then just fill in the little dots to show, the line. And every day gets a new color. So I still have my color. I still have where I can see any spikes and pitfalls and figure out what went wrong. And it was quite a bit easier and faster to create, which was really good. But I also changed how I tracked in my daily spread. So rather than draw out the big radar chart, I started to write right into my header an HCFPE-T. So happiness, calmness, fulfillment, physical health, and energy, and then my total score. And then these drop-down dots are the score. So I would do half a box is 1 point. So I'd do 2, 4, 6. So I got a 7 for my happiness this day. And not only was it easier to create than the radar chart, a lot easier to create. I enjoyed the visual aspect of it. I found it to be very visually appealing. So I actually ended up sticking with this for quite a while. So for a few months, I kept with the same system of this way in my dailies and this way in my monthly dashboard. Then in July, I switched things up a little bit. I was still doing the daily drop downs for the HCFPE, but in my tracking, I changed things a good bit. So I found that after a few months, looking at the overall score was okay. But what I really wanted to see was how the individual aspects were changing. So when I went to record it in my monthly dashboard, I recorded my happiness, calmness, fulfillment, physical health, and energy in different colors. So that then I could come in and see, oh, okay, well, my color's changing. So now I can tell, well, what made this day so much better than this day? Was I happier? Was I calmer? You know, that type of thing. And it gave me more information on how my month was going. And I also started doing a wellness goals page. This was inspired by Ursula Rose, and I'll link her Instagram down below. She had a page on Instagram called Intentions, and I thought this is the perfect thing. Recording data is one thing, being able to look at spikes and dips is okay, but how can I actively work on improvement? So this was my first attempt at that, where I would take each of the aspects, so like happiness, put down what my goal is, and then list up to 3 things that I could do during the month to increase my happiness to reach that goal. And I was supposed to fill it in whenever I did it. So I was supposed to take baths. Yeah, didn't do it. Have some me time for 1 hour. That I actually did a few times. Some crafting time, you know, different things like that. And then at the end of the month, I was supposed to record what my actual average score for the whole month was, and then do some reflection on how things went, how can I improve, things of that nature. And for this month, basically, I got too busy. I didn't end up going back through and doing the end of the month review. And I think that was a big mistake and something that I'm going to work on in the future. But I like this idea. I think this can work, and I continue with it. So July saw a little bit of evolution as well. Then I moved into this gorgeous cover from Jane's Agenda for August. I maintained the daily tracking in this way. So I switched up my format, started doing weeklies, but I still did the daily tracking here and the total score. But then for the month, I switched it up just a bit to make it a little more functional. So instead of just having one long row, like you could see before, I actually broke it up into columns so that it was easier to tell how my calmness fluctuated or how my fulfillment fluctuated separately from the other aspects. So this is a problem. What ended up happening this month was I did them in my dailies every day. I was very diligent about that. But the amount of time it took to take it from my daily and copy it over here to the monthly spread and draw out all these big dots, it was just too much time, especially in August. It was an intense month and I failed epically, as you can see. So I also failed in doing my monthly review, and that's something that I very much need to fix. So this obviously wasn't working. Having 2 areas where I'm doing my tracking is not working. I just don't have the time to write it down twice. So for September, I have actually moved back into a Leuchtturm. If you'd like to see more information as to why I switched back into a Leuchtturm, I do have a post up on my blog right now. I'll link to it below, which shows basically my initial setup and an explanation of why I've moved back into a Leuchtturm. So that's not for this video. So what I've done to make life simpler and be more effective is I've gotten rid of it in my dailies. So for my daily spread, I no longer track my wellness. It's just not in there. I loved having it in the dailies. I really enjoy the way it looks, but it was too much time and effort to transfer it from the daily into the monthly dashboard spread. So all I've kept is the monthly dashboard spread. I still have the separate columns for the different aspects. I've simplified the dot system so that I only have a big dot on the end and then the small dots. So this is the exact same thing I was doing in the dailies in the beginning, but I've just moved it all into one page. And then a little column here where I can tally up the total. And this so far is the best iteration that I found. And it's working, I'm keeping up with it, and I only have to look at it once. The only thing I could do to simplify this would be to use one color, do it all in black. I'm torn on doing that because I do enjoy using some color, but black would be easier, a little more minimalistic, so we'll see for next month. And I'm keeping the intentions page. I want to make a concerted effort to work on this at the end of the month and really reflect on my wellness, mental and physical health, because it's very important, especially right now with all of the changes going on in my life. So this is my current spread. I very much enjoy it. I'm finding it to be extremely useful. And when I go to record my wellness scores, because it's not too labor intensive and I'm not finding it frustrating, I realize that while I'm recording it, I'm really thinking about my day. I'm going through and saying, wow, you know, I really was happy yesterday. Think of all these amazing things that happened, rather than just, you know, looking at it going, oh, I need to get my score down. I need to get my score down. And getting the score is not the most important thing anymore. It's thinking about the day and living in the present and being there, and it's just much, much better. So I'm curious, do you guys track your wellness? If you do you just track your physical health or your mental health, or a combination of the two like I do? As you can see through my evolution, I am constantly looking for ways to improve and change and simplify. So I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for staying with me, and happy journaling, happy crafting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.